everyone, welcome to our character profile of Kelly Neelan.
Kelly, it's our Kelly.
That's right, it's a special Halloween themed.
Why?
Because she's spooky and murdery and...
Totally murdery.
Things.
We are going to be... She's gone.
I know.
Sad times. Run off into the distance, into the sunset of
Run off
Weatherfield.
laughing.
I don't know whether it's an actual sunset or whether it's just a volume wall still. I didn't hear a crash though, so I think that she's probably over that hill
fine.
and far away. Yeah, we are talking about Kelly this week, who... you know, as somebody who's only been on the show for a couple of years, I was thinking, oh, well, that's okay. This is going to be a bit of a shorter podcast.
That's what I thought.
No.
Might be a lot to do.
There's an awful lot to say about Kelly Neelan, so we thought this would be a good opportunity to run down her famous stories over the year, some of the best scenes, and kind of just reminisce over Kelly's time on the cobbles. And I don't know, for anyone who might be listening to this in the future saying, who's that bird with a shaved eyebrow? It's not shaved, it's real.
Hooray!
Fact number one. So, let's run down. It feels like we were just saying before we started, it's been so long since we've done a character profile, isn't it? I don't know what else has been happening.
I don't know.
Going
nothing.
to Manchester.
I don't think we did very much.
I don't know. But anyway, so I think I remember how to do these. Let's find out. We'll try and make it not seem too reedy, but that is a lot to read. Gemma, I'm going to tell you Kelly's vital statistics. She was born on the 22nd of May 2005. Noob. Her parents were Rick and Laura Neelan.
Dead.
Both dead, yeah. God, how tragic. She first appeared on the 28th of June 2019 in Coronation Street and bowed out on the 23rd of September 2022 after 215 episodes. And she was played by
Millie Gibson.
Millie Gibson. Yes, what a fine upcoming actress she is. Now she was... Can you say that she's upcoming when she's, been doing it for a good few years now? I think it's a watch this space actress.
I think she's got a longer career doing this than I have doing anything. So.
You reckon?
Yeah.
So I was doing a little bit of research about Millie, should I say, Amelia, and she was taken on by Scream Management after being spotted.
Scream Management. Scream
That sounds like people are just going, "Rah!" and then people come in and say, calm down. You don't need to do this.
No, but that's a good thing to have. It's for people who are good at running away
managing
from murderers.
their screams. Yeah, she was spotted in drama class at the Oldham Theatre Workshop, aged 12, and she appeared in an episode of Love, Lies and Records in 2017, followed by Jamie Johnson, which is a series on CBBC where she was at for 16 episodes. And I'd never seen or heard of Millie Gibson before coming into Coronation Street, so it's interesting. It'd be interesting to know.
Had never heard of us either.
She had never heard of us. No, I'm sure. I don't know. Maybe she was a closet podcast fan. Who knows? Yeah, she was. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know whether people who kind of really grew to love her in Coronation Street had seen her in anything else. But this was a 16 episode thing on CBBC. Jamie Johnson. And she was in the ITV drama Butterfly. Now, I do remember there being mega adverts for this when it was out at the time, a good few years ago, 5 odd years ago, because this was a programme about a transgender child, and she was the sister of this child. We didn't watch it, but I must have seen adverts with her on. She was then, after that, brought in to play Kelly Neelan for just 6 episodes of Coronation Street in summer 2019. And I quote from her, "Coronation Street was a great honour and an amazing experience that will stay with me forever. Everyone was so welcoming. On my first day on set, they all made me feel part of the family with their warming jokes and lovable personalities. Mikey North was especially fantastic to work with, and I hope to again soon." This is all part of our exit interview, of course, by the way, but I put it in here because it's about when she joined. "I've learnt lots from our scenes together, blah, 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 blah." Yeah, so look straight in there with Mikey North, who we can also agree is very lovely and welcoming. So who better to welcome you to Coronation Street? I don't know. Gemma, tell us about 2005 Kelly Neelan.
That was her first year of life.
It was.
We know some bits about her from those early days, 2005. She was born.
Tell me more.
Rick and Laura, her parents, traditional way of being born there.
Okay, speed it up a bit. I told you I had a lot of information there.
She grows up, she doesn't know about the fact her dad is a loan shark, but her mum is very neglectful and abusive, and she gives Kelly her eyebrow scar during a confrontation. Her parents divorce at some point, and then they share responsibility for looking after her. She goes to Oak Hill School, which is a posh private school, and her dad pays for the fees, and he would also pick her up there, and they would spend some time together. Like, he kind of had
shared custody.
Yeah, for once a fortnight.
Yeah, she'd go around his house once every 2 weekends.
And I definitely remember Laura's house. We saw inside Laura's house once, didn't we? And it has a massive kitchen with a great big island.
I don't remember that. We did see inside somewhere where she lived, because after she got sick earlier this year and Kelly was going to visit.
Well, then she ended up in a dump, didn't she?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was another house for Laura to live in at one point, wasn't there? I think you're right. Yeah, but a lot of Kelly's kind of past history we uncovered during various interviews or chats with social workers or whatever over the year, and it just turned out that she was a proper neglectful child.
About her because we were worried.
I also did like how they got the
Did you call her a neglectful child?
No, neglected. I might have done, but I meant neglected. Maybe she was neglectful.
I think all children are a little bit neglectful.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so she got her eyebrow scar, which is obviously part of Millie Gibson's actual face.
It's part of
her
her actual
how they
face.
incorporated into the programme. So 2019, this is when she first appeared on Coronation Street. Now, Rick Neelan, her dad, had just been killed by Gary Windass during this altercation in the woods, which we've been hearing a lot about recently. And Kelly appears in Rick's office, which was this interesting set, wasn't it? It was, I thought it was a very setty looking set. It was sort of all grubbed up and manky. Yeah,
it felt. Yeah, you're right.
It just looked like, a bit of a tumble down. I don't know. It's hard to.
It looked like something from a play. Honestly,
yeah, that's a good point.
Because of the way that everything was kind of orientated to the screen. So his I think maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but his desk was sort of like facing towards the camera at kind of an angle, wasn't it?
Yeah,
against a wall, which
it never
is
kind
weird.
of felt realistic to me, that set. But anyway, this is where Kelly first appeared. Gary was there having a root around post Rick murdery, and he pretended that he was a customer at Rick's. Kelly sees him in the office again a month or so later, and she believes Gary when he says that he's started doing a little bit of work for her dad. So Gary, this is the beginning of his cover up and trying to make out that he's like Rick's secret contact, and for years he was saying, I'm the only person that Rick would talk to. So he was spinning this yarn to Kelly back then. She started to follow him though and confronts him in Victoria Gardens, where he says this is where he tells her that her dad is, I suppose, a loan shark, and he's left the country as the police are onto him. Kelly doesn't believe him though, and thinks Gary had something to do with his disappearance. We also got to see Sharon make an appearance. Sharon, what's her name? I can't remember what her surname is, but old Big Sharon, who appeared just recently. Another associate of Rick's, and Gary ends up having to pay Kelly's school fees because Sharon finds out. I think Gary has to admit it to her for whatever reason that plot purposes that Rick is dead. And then Sharon's like, well, you can bloody well pay for her school, and I'm not doing it. So she agrees to cover up the murder by making him pay. Yeah, although he's paying with Rick's money that he's pilfered from the safe anyway, hasn't he? So yeah, it's all fair.
In 2020, Gary is shocked when he sees Kelly in a Weatherfield High uniform with Asher in the cafe, and he calls Oak Hill, and they confirm that she's not a pupil there anymore. So he's like, what the hell? I've been paying all this money for this kid to go to school, and she's not even there. Kelly stirs up trouble at the party at the Allahans by inviting a load of other people, and then she gets into a row with Asher.
Good reading.
About a broken lamp. And Kelly gets her nose put out of joint, so she retaliates. She goes on Corrie's phone. She finds a video that he secretly recorded of Asher when they did a video chat, and he asked her to take her clothes off.
Nudie video.
And Asher didn't realise that it was being recorded, but it's a video of her getting undressed. And then Kelly puts it on the chat, and then over the next few days, everybody sends it to everyone else, and eventually it ends up on the internet.
So this was like the very first time that she was in it in 2019. Like I said, it was only for like 6 episodes or so that year, but it felt like she was a fairly kind of, I'm just here because I want the audience to feel sorry for me, and isn't Gary a bad un because look, he's left this poor innocent daughter behind. But this was kind of the proper start of her being, I'm going to be a troublemaker. Although still not too many appearances in 2020 actually, but this was a great story to get her in, and one of many things, misdemeanors that she was responsible for that Dev never really forgave her and forgot her about, did he?
No, I wouldn't forget. It's hard to forget when you're paying out the nose for something, isn't it? So Asher begs Dev not to report Kelly and Corrie. I honestly think that Dev should have just done it. I wouldn't have listened to her. Anyway, Gary discovers that Laura has been taking Kelly's Oak Hill fees and not using them, and then let her go to a Wethy High.
Yeah, he'd been paying it to Laura on the understanding that money would then go to Oak Hill, hadn't they?
Yeah, but obviously Laura's got no... Rick's dead and Laura's got no income, I don't think. Don't know what she would do with her life, but she's obviously just living off her kids' school fees. So Laura does a runner when it gets uncovered, and then Summer moves in with Billy, Paul and Summer.
Kelly does.
Kelly moves in. So she's like just bed hopping the whole time she's in Coronation Street. Paul wants to throw her out when he hears about the video, but they realise she's actually really sorry about it, and they let her stay. See, Paul, I think, has learned his lesson here, hasn't he? Because he's not being very forgiving anymore. Well,
not currently, not of old Aaron. No.
So I think he's, I think he's smart. He's evolving, unlike Billy. So Laura's run off. Imran and Adam. Oh, I remember Imran. Start to show an interest in Kelly when they hear that she is Rick's daughter, and then Gary eventually tracks Laura down in Rochdale and convinces her to take Kelly back in again so that Adam will stop sniffing around, because he's worried that they will uncover the fact he done a murder.
Well, Imran's particularly interested in Rick because Imran thinks that Rick's responsible for the factory roof collapse, isn't he? So he wants to get some kind of justice for that. I don't remember what it was that Adam had his knickers in his wrist about for Rick, but he's just a fighter for justice. Yeah, basically, probably.
So, Laura and Kelly are together, and then Gary finds out that they are living quite close to him, or them, or whatever, because they can't afford very much.
Yeah, because originally they thought that Kelly was going to go off and live in Rochdale with her mum, but she just ends up living around the corner basically from Coronation Street because
they're poor.
Times is hard.
The following month, Gary sees Kelly with a bruise Laura gave her, and he tells Laura to treat Kelly right, or he's going to set Rick on her. At the end of the year, Kelly turns up to see Gary, having been abandoned by her mum yet again, and she also reveals that she's hunting for her dad, because she got given a Christmas card from Rick, and so she gave it to the police. And it's Gary, really. And the police are like, oh, there's no fingerprints on this. And then Kelly's like, why? That's really suspicious. And she starts getting really suspicious of Gary because he's supposedly the only person who has seen Rick for months. So what is going on, she wonders.
Yeah, back at this Christmas, we were both thinking, is justice finally catching up with Gary? Is this where it's all going to get discovered? I think it was this Christmas that Sarah Louise finds out about what Gary's done to Rick as well. But no, they still managed to string it on for a little bit longer, and that takes us into 2021, where Kelly, now suspicious of Gary, like Gemma said, broke into his furniture shop because she's absolutely convinced that he knows more than he's letting on. She bumps into Simon there, and that starts a kind of a on and off friendship over the years. They're kind of dating a little bit and then not, and then he just kind of has nothing to do with her towards the end. But there's an almost nice kind of relationship going on there. They arrange a date, but he ends up standing her up because this is all when remember the Leanne storyline? She'd gone a bit hermit-like, hadn't she, in early 2021?
Yeah.
And she'd locked herself away, shut herself away in her flat, and just when he was supposed to be going out with Kelly, Simon finds her. So Kelly has her nose put out of joint a little bit there. She also, we get to see later that year, knows Jacob. Because this was his first stint in the street. She sees him hanging around Simon. She's like, hang on a minute, you're well dodgy, and warns Simon that Jacob is all into drugs and is selling illegal substances, narcotics and things like that. And he'd even been to prison for stabbing someone over drugs. You wouldn't have thought that now looking at Jacob, would you? A stabber, a vile stabber? Blimey. That's how you do redemption, Coronation Street. Just literally make us forget about everything somebody's done. Kelly, speaking of drugs, ends up buying some ecstasy pills not long after that from Simon because Asher wants to get off her face because she's been dumped by Nina. And Asher's like, oh, I know what my character would do in this circumstance. Get totally high. And Kelly's like, I can get you some drugs. So she buys some off Simon. But then Kelly ends up having a bad reaction to them first, and she's taken to hospital because it's fake ecstasy or something like that.
What a waste of resources.
I know. So this is when Imran kind of comes in, and he, as I said, he'd been sniffing around Kelly a little bit earlier because of the Rick Neelan link. But he ends up representing her when she's interviewed by the police about these drugs. Now, she doesn't mention Simon's name, so she's allowed to go home. But so everything's hunky-dory for Kelly there, really. She's managed to get away with it. But...
And that's the end.
Back at home...
What?
She tells Imran she's not very happy with her foster parents. So she's because she's not living with Laura anymore, they had to stick her into the fostering system. And I think, did she say she had a little brother or something? I can't remember, that was getting more attention or that was annoying her or something. But she really doesn't like this other place that she's staying. I don't think we ever got to meet them. I can't remember. So she begs Imran and Toya to foster her. She kind of just accosts them in the street, doesn't she? Do you remember? And Toya's like, I like your chutzpah. And she's like, yeah, go on then. You can be our foster daughter. We're looking for one of those. You're looking for
We're
parents.
in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was quite exciting at the time because obviously Imran believed that Rick was responsible for Rana's death. So that kind of situation was put together like, oh, Imran has to forget about Rick so that he can be a good foster dad to this girl and everything. Again, is it going to come out now about Gary killing Rick? No, still not yet.
No.
So
don't think about it.
Even though by this point in the year, Corrie is going out with Asher, he starts totally flirting with Kelly when she shows an interest in him. And then this is what leads to the famous hate crime storyline of 2021. And so basically you got, who was there? There was Summer, there was Nina, Kelly, Corrie, all the Corrie teens are out on some wasteland, which is filmed just outside Coronation Street's car park, isn't it? Because we saw that the other month. And so Kelly slaps Nina because they're kind of goading her into it, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they're all a little bit drunk. I think it was Eli and I can't remember what the other boy was called. They're kind of like, yeah, go on, hit it. So Kelly slaps Nina. This sets in motion the events that lead to the death of Seb. So Nina gets slapped, kind of as the bigger person on it, kind of carries on walking away with Seb. The nasty teens take chase, and then as we know, it ends up with Seb dead on the floor, kicked to death. But it's still a few months before we get to find out exactly what happened. Although back at the time, which was I think May that year, we do get to hear Kelly laughing as Seb is kind of tripped onto the floor or falls onto the floor, whatever happens. And we get to see some of Seb getting kicked. And we were like, well, Kelly doesn't seem to be jumping in to rescue him here. Surely she's complicit in these events. And that's the story, that slowly unfolds to us over kind of mid-2021. So, post-kicking, Corrie warns Kelly to keep quiet about what she saw happen, and Kelly is like totally on the edge of breakdown over this. She's like, I was involved, this guy's dead, Corey's telling me to not say anything, I don't know what to do about it. And also, Corrie ends up getting an alibi in Asher as well. He's able to convince her to say that he was with her. And Kelly's like, please, Toya, tell police that I was with you when the attack happened. So Kelly, despite all this, gets arrested and pretty much cries throughout her interview. But she's at least released under investigation under the care of Imran and Toya.
What great hands she's in.
Well, you would think that, but Kelly's mum Laura then shows up later. I know. And says, right, Imran and Toya, this is all your fault. You were looking after my daughter. Now look at the mess that she's in.
You've ruined it.
Exactly. So Kelly gets taken in by the police for questioning again, but not only did the police have evidence that she was at the scene of the crime by this point, but they've also heard an answer phone message from Seb on Abby's phone because as they're getting, thanks for all the.
I'm helping you. I'm like the what's the word?
You're the listener.
I am.
Thank you.
Preach.
Yeah. So yeah.
You tell him.
Shut up. So as Seb was being chased by these.
You go, girl.
Shut up. As Seb was being chased by these naughty teens in the back streets of Weatherfield, he phones up Abby and's like, "Oh, Mum, I love you," because this is at her Stop it.
I'm sorry, that was genuine. All right, okay, you do it myself.
You join in with the genuine bits, it's fine.
Well, you can't tell the difference then, can you?
So he's like, Mum, because Abby was at her hen do, wasn't she, for Kevin's for the wedding with Kevin.
I'm not allowed to stay.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is why people go to Corriepedia for information about characters, because they don't have any of this interrupting stuff. They just get the plain old facts. Abby has got this message from Seb saying, hello, I love you, I just wanted to check you're okay. And she's able to hear this kicking taking place. And like I said earlier, Kelly laughing during the attack. So the police are like, well, that's clearly your voice. We're going to bang you up. So she gets taken to court, refused bail. And meanwhile, Toya is admitting to Imran that she suspects Kelly is guilty. So this is a great little... a tricky situation that Toya was in, because on the one hand she's supposed to be looking after this kid as her foster mum, but also she thinks that she's a bit of a murderer as well. So, wouldn't want to be in Toya's shoes there.
Age-old dilemma.
So in jail, this Kelly starts to have flashbacks about the night of the attack, but still the viewers aren't completely sure about everything that's happened at this point. Laura, meanwhile, shows up on the scene again, pretending to care about Kelly, but really, she just wants to sell her story to the papers. Kelly gets interviewed by a social worker and starts to open up about her rotten childhood, and I think this is the time when we find out about that eyebrow scar as well. So, Imran is absolutely desperate to save Kelly. He basically stops everything else in his life, doesn't he, just to work himself to the bone to try and get together some evidence to prove that she's innocent. And he starts to neglect Toya a little bit as well in this, and kind of make assumptions about Toya, because you remember when he said, oh yeah, Toya will be your responsible adult during the trial scenes. Yes. And Toya's like, hang on a minute, I didn't agree to this.
I don't like her.
I think Imran kind of said, well, we need to make her look young and innocent and naive, and if there's another adult sitting there, in loco parentis, then the jury may go easy on her, and can't be me, so Toya's going to have to be you. So Imran, as I say, is working, and he manages to get himself some special evidence. I can't remember where he gets the money from, but he does some forensic digging to find out that the blood spatters on Kelly's shoes from the night could not have been caused by her kicking Seb. Bonus.
Wasn't this to do with some kind of... didn't Gary give him the money in a
Oh yeah,
in an envelope, and then Imran was like,
right.
"Oh yeah, I'm gonna use this."
Or was it? Was this the time when was this? This is 2021. I kind of lost track of things. It wasn't the money that Jeff had left down a sofa or something, was it? No, he'd gone by that point. No, I'm confusing that with something else. But anyway, I'm pretty sure it came from Gary. And so he's got this evidence that says, look at that, couldn't have kicked him, the blood spatters are going the wrong way or something. But, sad times, this evidence can't be used in court because they were incorrectly stored. Shucks.
Yeah, you got to put them in potpourri.
Do you reckon? Is that right? Special police... Is it potpourri when you do it at the police station? This is found by Sabine, who was Imran's ex-wife, who just so happened to also be the prosecuting lawyer person in the case. And that was a nice sort of
that was
conflict
fun when
as well. That was
yeah.
great. I really wish that we could have seen more Sabine after she'd gone, but I guess there's no point now that Imran's not there. Anyway, Kelly is still refusing to plead guilty to get a lesser sentence, which is another piece of advice that she was recommended. No, I didn't do it, she says. I'm not going to say that I did it. But luckily for her, Nina has a bit of a brainwave. How about I go back to the scene of the crime and see if I can have a bit of a flashback? And that she does. It's her, it's Asher, Abby, I think, is it? They go back to the wall, to the road and everything. And this is when we get that amazing scene of flashbackery where we see Seb and Nina get knocked over. Nina runs off down the street, hides behind another car, and then the camera kind of pans... Oh, and then Nina gets a good kick in herself from the other guys, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And the camera kind of pans down the street past the ring that belonged to her and dropped off her during the attack, then over to Seb. And this is finally when we see that Corrie was indeed the only kicker in the incident, and Kelly was there trying to pull him off of him. She kind of has him, because it's Seb, yeah.
Oh yeah, pull him off him, yeah.
Yeah, so she kind of, it takes her a while to get started, doesn't it? Because she's just totally freaking out, and it was all really well done, and it was all very, a bit over the top with direction and everything, but in a good way. And she's melting down.
Are you meaning dramatic?
Yeah. And Corrie is just like proper laying into Seb, and Kelly's like, no. Finally manages to get him off, and so now Nina remembers, definitely not Kelly, better not get her sent to prison. So this is what she says at the trial. Nina turns up there and says, no, yeah, Kelly was begging Corrie to stop during the attack. You can't send her down. Meanwhile, though, Corrie makes out that Kelly was the one that was the ringleader and that he was scared of her because of her dad's reputation. I never really found Kelly mega scary. I don't know. Do you mean... I guess we're not supposed to find her properly intimidating, but maybe it was a little bit suspension of disbelief that anybody would think that Corrie was scared of her. But maybe if your dad's a loan shark, then you don't need to be scary yourself, because you just need to say, well, dad's a loan shark. What are you going to do?
I think if my perception of Kelly is that if we were hanging about and she was like, oi, go get me some crisps from the shop, I would probably get her some crisps from the shop because I'd be scared of her dad, but I wouldn't kick a man to death.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So anyway, Kelly ends up like going, no, it wasn't, it's all lies. She has to get removed from the courtroom, because you can't have a courtroom scene on Coronation Street without somebody shouting out when they're not allowed to, and then being told that to stop it, or they'll leave, or they'll actually have to just
stop it,
get kicked out themselves.
So the judge says, stop it.
Star witness time. Laura Neelan, good old Mrs. N, coming up on the stand to say, no, Kelly, it's not her fault. Kelly, she had a rough upbringing. I was a really bad mum. I neglected her.
She was a great kid.
She was great. She was lovely. She definitely would never kick Seb to death. But, unfortunately for Team Kelly, this is when Sabine brings up the evidence that was used when Laura was on trial for neglect earlier. Because, up until this point, Laura's been... she's been up in court herself under neglect charges, and during that time she said, Kelly used to be really violent when she was a little girl, and we were all scared of her and everything.
Awkward.
So and Sabine's like, did you mean that? Was that the truth when you said that in court
Which
earlier
bit are you
this
lying
year?
about? Are you lying now, or are you lying then?
Yeah, so Laura kind of has to end up saying, that was the truth, otherwise... She ends up getting in trouble for neglect herself. Yeah, she ends up doing a bit of perjury. Oh. So, bad luck Kelly there. And she's eventually, Kelly, found guilty. And at this point, she's facing a 12-year prison sentence. And this was a mega shock. Do you remember the end of that episode after the court when she ends up attempting suicide in her cell? And I don't think anybody had seen that coming, but there was a great scene. It was like Imran and Toya kind of having a bit of a worry at home, and then did they get a phone call or something? I can't remember.
I thought you researched this.
I've done a pretty good job. I haven't watched every single episode, Gemma. But
I thought you did it originally.
I did originally.
You can't accuse me of watching every single episode.
So you get to see the scene where the prison guard's going past the cells, and he looks in the cell. And then
he does a little funny double take.
Oh my god, yeah. And I remember at the time, kind of my heart dropping to my stomach, going, "Oh my gosh, has she actually killed herself?"
Yeah, this was actually really dark.
That was it? I can't remember whether it was left a mystery over the weekend, whether she actually had done or not. I'm going to say it was,
because this was a really interesting period of Coronation Street where they decided to do proper good cliffhangers over the weekend, which I think they
come and go.
No, I know, but I think. Yeah, it feels a bit more like something momentous, yet kind of conclusive happens at the end of the week. Whereas these were like, what will happen next? To find out on Monday's Coronation Street.
So she's okay.
She turns out fine.
Yeah, she didn't actually do it. But it just adds to the friction between Imran and Toya, because he'd already blamed her for giving Kelly false hope. So Toya was her responsible adult, like we said, and she was like, "Oh, you'll be fine, Kelly." And now he blames her for not answering the phone, because just before she ended up trying to kill herself, Kelly had tried phoning up Toya, but she didn't answer the phone. But it's not her fault. Her phone was the other side of the room. So Imran is just like basically trying to find anybody to blame for this, and poor old Toya is the one that ends in the firing line at this point. So Imran goes off and has his wicked way with Abby around this time as well. So what a dirty dog he was. So in prison, we get to see a few prison scenes with Kelly, and we meet her friend Mia, who seemed kind of nice to begin with, but then this Mia finds out that her dad is Rick Neelan, and
notorious drug
very
dealer.
Notorious, not drug dealer. He would never do
I'm
anything
sorry.
like that. Loan shark.
He just lends money to drug dealers.
Yes, that's right. So
Well,
apparently
it's a business startup, isn't it? It's young enterprise.
So Mia's family had once had history with Rick Neelan, and she was like, "I'm not being friends with you. You're a Neelan." So that's a bit rubbish for Kelly. But she is heartened to hear that an anonymous donation has been made to fund her appeal. She reckons it's from Rick. But obviously,
It's not. He's dead.
Not. It's Gary again, isn't it?
Kelly, you silly goose.
So on the day of Kelly's sentencing, she's given 15 years in prison.
It's so stupid.
For something she didn't do.
She
really.
did it. She did do it.
I just wish that they hadn't been quite so shady with what... that we saw the kicking, and we saw that Seb was being kicked, and all the only sound effect was kicking for a good period of time, for a good 5 to 10 seconds, it feels like, doesn't it? And then later on, they're like, oh, no, she was freaking out at this time. I don't know, I didn't get that.
Well, we're not going to go down this route too far, but she was overcharged, I think, because I do think that the legal situation is that even if you're just standing about in this country, you can still be put in prison for murder, and that's happened to lots of other people.
We did talk about that.
We talked about it quite a lot, and I can't see the difference between what Kelly did and what some other people who are still in prison today for not actually even some of the people that have been convicted under this law weren't even there when somebody was killed. They just instigated a fight that then later led to somebody getting killed.
Kelly could have phoned the police or the ambulance or something.
I don't think it's necessarily fair. That law seems very wrong to me, because I kind of feel as though it's kind of making out that you can influence somebody to murder somebody else, and I think everyone should, I think we've all got free will, don't we? I don't think.
Yes.
So anyway,
I just remember, so we maybe didn't talk about this too much, but after the kicking, Corey's the one that runs off, doesn't he? And I think Kelly's about to phone the police, but Seb starts to stir and groan a little bit, and she's like, "Oh, he'll be okay." And I need to get far away from here. She kind of risks it, doesn't she? So I
do like this storyline, because I think it's divisive, isn't it? I think some people very, very strongly think that she is responsible in some way, whether or not you want to go that far with whether she is as culpable as Corrie. I'm not sure, and there are other people who very, very convinced that she was completely innocent, and
all through the summer of 2021, Coronation Street was really doing their darndest to make people sympathise with Kelly, weren't they? I mean, yes, it was definitely a little bit ambiguous, but it was clear from this point on that we were supposed to be going, oh no, it's wrongful imprisonment, she didn't do it.
I think Kelly is such an interesting character for this reason, really, because life really... It was stacked against her from the moment she was born, with her neglectful mother, abusive mother, a father who was involved in criminal activity, and then all the horrible things that happened to her, and going in the system, being a foster child, and being kind of like bounced around from person to person.
And she was kind of one of the elite going to Oak Hill as well, which probably, gave her ideas above her station and everything.
I don't know.
I know, but I'm not slagging off private schools.
I do also want to say that
combined with everything else.
That I think if Millie Gibson was not a beautiful little angel-looking girl with her lovely blonde hair, I do wonder whether she would have had as much sympathy as she did from.
Yeah, I know.
There's definitely, everybody's guilty of it to a certain extent, and obviously, especially in a soap, we're led to conclusions in this way. Either it's to sort of confirm stereotypes or to subvert them because of casting. They people get cast to look in a specific way to evoke a specific reaction from people. We can't pretend that's not true.
No.
So the fact that Kelly's got this beautiful, lovely, open face with her gorgeous blonde hair and her innocent little expression, I think led a lot of people to sympathise with her more than they might have done if she had looked differently. And I don't want anyone to feel bad about that, because I think that's human nature, and everybody does this.
But it was interesting that originally the part was never supposed to go on for anywhere near as long as
she's
this,
such a talented actress.
Yeah, she charmed them into giving her the job back for quite a long time
great joy
afterwards.
to kind of come up with ideas to further Kelly's story on the show.
Yeah, but she was originally just supposed to be, poor orphan, or semi-orphan child.
Story.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so Kelly's in prison, but it doesn't last long. So she's only in there for about another month or so after that, because thanks to some good old detective work from who was it, Nina and Asher and Stu as well, who get hold of Corey's bag full of bloodied clothes out of the canal. Corey ends up having to try and run away.
Yeah, I kind of
He
forgot
has an escape with his dad, doesn't he?
This is the introduction of Stu in this
Yeah, it was.
line.
It was about a year ago. Does Gary get into the van and end up driving them straight to the police station?
It's brilliant.
So Corey ends up getting arrested. And that's the last we saw of him. Kelly is sent out.
A lot of Kelly's story is Gary's continual clumsy attempts to atone for the fact that he murdered her dad, and he never ever manages really to pay her back.
No,
Does he?
No, never really.
No.
So Kelly, sad times, is told that she cannot go to live back with Imran and Toya at this point, because they've already got this other foster daughter, Elsie, who was as tiny knee-eyed to a grasshopper sort of girl.
But she's a psychopath.
I don't know the full story here, but for some reason Elsie wasn't allowed to be housed with another child.
See, I don't know very much about foster children, or indeed children in general. I only know about animals. And when you get an animal and they say, oh, you can't have this cat with other cats, it normally means the cat will screw the other cats up and scratch their faces off and will be violent. So I'm really basing it on like the Blue Cross logic here of Elsie can't be with other children because she like cuts their hair off when they're asleep, or like puts their fingers in hot water and makes them wet themselves.
Who I don't think we'll ever know the full truth about Elsie.
I think Elsie
don't know what her surname is. Anyway, so she can't live with Battersby, so that's a bit rubbish. So she has to. Oh no, I don't think she lives with Gary and Maria at this point. She's got this other accommodation, hasn't she?
Yes, it's like a little kind of sheltered kind of a series of rooms, isn't it?
Just for young wrong-uns, isn't it, basically?
Oh, it's really
sad. Scally's
sad.
apartment.
Oh, it's not. It's for children who don't have anywhere to go. It's really tragic. But obviously all these kids are like really troubled, and so they don't get on very well with each other.
I suppose it's quite similar to this PRU school that Max is in at the moment.
Except it's residential.
Yeah, exactly. Because that school is just for children who, for whatever reason, can't get into accommodation. It just so happens that for many of those, it's because they've been excluded from their school or have been expelled from their school. So it kind of breeds the kind of child that's likely to be a bit of a nasty piece of work to everyone else.
I don't know if it breeds it, but
well, it's where they often come to gather. Anyway, this is where Kelly's staying at the moment. She goes home one night and finds murderer spray painted on the wall.
No.
So her flatmates aren't too pleased with her. And so she's proper sorry and everything. And it's
like a halls of residence.
Yeah. Again, we were really made to try and feel super sorry for Kelly at this point, because half of the street were yelling insults at her, a bit like they're doing with Stu at the moment, I suppose. She tries to kind of atone for her
consequences
sins.
of my actions.
Yeah,
Didn't know this would happen.
She goes to Nina and's like, oh, I brought you a ring. This is like the one that you lost. I can't remember whether she tries to pretend that she's found this missing plastic heart-shaped ring, or whether she just comes out and says, I bought you a replacement one. But Nina don't want any of that. She's also accused of vandalising Dev's car around that point, although it was actually Ardy. So basically everybody just thinks that she's a wrong un, never to be trusted, and everything that ever goes wrong on the street is all down to one Kelly Neelan. Apart from dear Ardy, who sees the good in her, tries to get Dev to let her come and stay with them at number 7 for a bit, and Dev's like, no, this is someone who is involved in the death of one of our neighbours and who we have got to blame for your sister's undressing video going around all these porn sites online. No way are we going to have her come and stay with us. She's also gets into what what's kind of precipitated Ardy into trying to get her to come into number 7 to stay is that she's got into some kind of mobile phone stealing shenanigans with this wrong'un called Cole at the accommodation. So she ends up, I think, getting thrown out of that, or he kicks her out or threatens her or whatever. So Ardy's like, please, Dad, let her come and stay with us. And Deb's like, no way. She's a cow.
No, she can be homeless.
She can be homeless. And so she does. She ends up sleeping rough on the streets. After having this dodgy encounter with a guy, she can remember that's episode where she went to Chariot Square Hotel and there was a guy there. Was that the oysters scene? I can't remember, but he ends up kind of luring her up to his bedroom because he thinks that he's gonna get lucky there, and that was mega harrowing because Kelly is still this
she's a young girl. She's being taken advantage of.
Exactly.
Well, she steals his money.
Yeah, basically. So she steals his money, goes living on the street again.
And it doesn't matter if she's a virgin or not. I know you didn't.
No. I'm just saying that you're
just emphasising her innocence, and I don't know whether she was a virgin. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, no, she was, because she'd said to Ardy a few weeks ago that when they slept together, that was both of their first times.
Well,
but then that's what Hayley said.
It's a likely story.
So this is where
it's only a matter of time before she turns up with a child that was born somewhere between the beginning of this storyline.
Exactly. This is where she meets coughing Stu on the street, who was really handy in the arrest of Corrie earlier, and she kind of befriends him a little bit. And
turns out he just had a cold.
Yeah, nothing wrong with him. But she also gets given spice by a drug dealer. They were just throwing everything at this poor girl, weren't they? To say, look, feel sorry for her.
When she got hired, they did it for 6 episodes, and then somebody in the writers' room was like, do you know what? I've realised Millie Gibson can cry really well. So
that's don't show your tears.
Never cry. If you're an actress,
if you can cry, they will be,
they'll poke you until you cry more.
Basically. They'll be shoving onions under your eyes for the next 5 years.
They're like those annoying internet Twitter people who are like, ooh, this is a cup of your tears and I'm drinking it and savouring every drop.
Yeah.
Ooh, Kelly's tears.
I bet
yum,
they
yum,
do.
yum.
All the higher-ups at Coronation Street just got these goblets of Millie Gibson's tears and Bhavna Limbacheer's tears and Jane Danson's tears and everything.
Georgia Taylor's tears and Sally Carman tears.
Yeah, and every time they win an award at the best soaps, they go, cheers, and clink glasses.
Okay, this is a new merch idea. We need to make mugs for Toya Battersby tears.
Or maybe we can just sell bottles and say that they're Leanne Battersby tears on the side and it's just water.
Can I just say, water. I think you'd sell more if you said it was bath water, but it would be a different audience.
This is Leanne's bath water, bit.
I don't know about it. I definitely could sell some Kelly Neelan.
If there's anyone in the ITV shop listening into this,
oh my God, can you
we'll
imagine
have a cut for that one too.
Somebody in charge of the merch of ITV who's completely unsupervised, just going, oh, that's a good idea. We should do that.
Anyway. So Deb is still saying, I'm not letting Kelly stay on these, stay in the place. No, she's been on the streets, but luckily, after a sad encounter with some other nasty teens, Nina comes along, rescues Kelly. Do you remember they're pouring beer over her head or something? Just to really, gosh, isn't it? She's having a terrible time out there. Nina comes in and is like, I forgive you, Kelly. You can come back with me. We're going back to Street. It's fine. And Deb is like, okay, she can stay at number 7 with us. So everything's cool on the street. Maria agrees to let Kelly work in the barbers because Maria's a lovely lady. Kelly says, is also, we get to see what a great character she is by defending Stu when he's accused of torching Speed Dial. She starts basically to feel that the street is accepting her. But then who should show up from her honeymoon to put a stop to all that but Abby Webster Franklin.
Oh no.
Because Abby is still holding a bit of a grudge, shall we say, for Kelly being partly involved in her poor son's death. And she spends the whole Christmas period haranguing her through the streets, doesn't she? And then, but when they go to a drugs rehabilitation-y kind of meeting together, Kelly opens up in front of the group about what a terrible upbringing she had, and Abby's like, oh, She had a bad upbringing, just like
so
I'm a
did
bad
I.
mum. Well, I had an bad upbringing, says Abby, and also I caused my children to have a bad upbringing as well. So that makes her back off, basically.
She's like, let bygones be bygones.
Yes. Because everybody hated Abby at this point as well, didn't they?
Yep. Fickle.
Yeah. Gary and Maria, at the end of the year, offer to let Kelly stay with them in their flat. And that is everything that happened in 2021, which is an awful lot.
That was
Gemma,
a lot.
I told you, it's basically they're like they didn't let her rest. It felt like
No.
she has been a main character, from someone who went from 6 episodes in 2019, was it, then about 20 the following year, and now it's like
just ramp it up.
Yeah, I can't remember how many episodes she had, but certainly did get ramped up these past few years. 2022, Gemma.
You know what they say?
What?
No rest for the wicked.
Very true. Very true.
Laura shows back up on the scene
Oh.
and she says, I am dying from stomach cancer. And everyone, including us, were like,
Don't really believe it. Even Kelly wasn't sure, was she? But Laura's like, no, really, I'm really proper sick.
But then, lovely St. Kelly sneaks off at nights and bunks off after school to look after her, and then eventually gets discovered by Gary and Maria, and Laura starts becoming an alcoholic. I say go for it. I say, why stop there? She asks Gary to become Kelly's official guardian. She's got nothing to lose now because she's dying, so she hires a private detective to hunt down Rick so that Kelly can get money from him. And the detective's like, you know what, that's weird because it seems like Rick disappeared completely in June 2019, which is almost like he just dropped dead somewhere. I don't know what happened there. So
the only person that claims to have seen hide nor hair of him since then is Gary Windass.
It's like I can't confirm anybody else apart from Gary, which is odd, isn't it? So Laura confronts Gary about this, and he confesses that he killed Rick. And so Laura knows that Kelly was better off with Gary looking after her. And so she confesses to the murder herself because it's all coming to a head and it's going to kind of come out that he's actually dead. And it's probably better in a way that, lines drawn onto that.
That was a great near end of episode
Because,
twist, wasn't it? It had the characters coming back to
she
Victoria
was great.
Court and Laura's being led away by the police, having confessed.
Cal Allen was so underrated, I think, until those
Yeah,
scenes.
that was her best time on
Honestly,
the show, but sadly,
she was just
her
fantastic.
days were numbered.
Absolutely phenomenal. She completely bowled me over.
Yeah, I was a bit blindsided by that.
Everybody in this storyline also is fantastic. I think.
Yeah, there's a really strong cast of characters in this story for sure.
Yeah, really, really good. So she confesses to the murder, and then Kelly cuts all ties with her. And by the time she realizes that she wants to see her mum before she dies, it's too late because she's dead. And then she crawls around on her corpse, and it's sad. But don't worry about it because she wins the Stylist Award on the same day. Drama aplenty at Rick's funeral because a man comes and spits on his coffin. It's a bit sad. Gary and co. See, this is the reason why it's probably a good idea that somebody admitted finally that Rick was dead, so that the assets that he had could be released to Kelly.
Yeah, because I did wonder whether the death would just be a secret forever. So Gary may live to sell a sofa another day, but at least the storyline has progressed in that Rick's body has finally been uncovered at this point.
So they go through Rick's house, and Gary and Co find a bag with a load of money in it.
Yeah, was it Ed and Paul, I think, maybe?
Yeah, they give it to Kelly, and then she uses it to pay people back for what her dad did to them, which I thought was kind of funny. I don't know, her obliviousness to how dangerous and what a bad idea this was. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know why, the scene in Aladdin when Princess Jasmine's wandering through the market, obliviously giving apples to orphans. It's like, stop it! You're gonna get yourself in trouble. Just leave it alone, okay? Let the orphans steal their own apples. So she gets mixed up with the drama with Imran trying to convince the court that Abby is a druggie, and she kind of turns into this morally superior kind of judgy, I would never do a wrong thing, Imran. How could you? She finds out. She tells Imran here.
She finds out that Imran and
Ben, the evil paralegal assistant, has been lying, and she's disgusted that Imran's like, actually, I don't this suits me fine.
Yeah, Imran is really convinced that Abby's on drugs, but he's got no evidence, and he's under
like, look,
duress.
Well, he's like
agrees
basically saying
to lie and say that he does have evidence.
It's like, it doesn't matter whether this evidence is real or not, because I know for a fact that she's on drugs.
Yeah.
And I need to protect my son. So, Imran dies in a car crash. Oh. And so Kelly says she's going to go to the police to tell them everything. So Kelly and Toya make up after Kelly finds poor Toya being a recluse in the flat. But she isn't happy to find out that Toya and Spider have got together, and she accuses her of betraying Imran's memory. Then Kelly arranges a date with Ardy, but he thinks she's been stood up when she doesn't show up. But actually she's been kidnapped because some of the people...
She just can't catch a break, that Kelly Neelan.
I think she's attention seeking.
Yeah,
being kidnapped.
She is the sort,
isn't she? Who do you think she is?
Princess Toadstool.
Yeah. So she's been kidnapped by one of the people that Rick had dealings with, and then Gary has to come and rescue her because he puts a tracker in a bag of cash, and he like beats the crap out of this guy Kieran. Remember him? He will come up again.
Yeah, he kind of. He probably lays into him, doesn't he? And
Kelly's
like, oh my gosh, I never thought that you were that violent, Gary.
Yeah.
I mean, she's probably just seen the old episodes where it was always him getting beaten up, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's good at that. Kelly tries to support Stu, and it comes out he's been in prison for murder. But then he
kind of gets her to back off, doesn't he? Do you remember that scene where he's in the hospital bed and he's trying to...
Well, the idea is that he's trying to protect her reputation, but actually, if I was him, I'd be like, Kelly, you're not helping me out here, love, because you also murdered somebody, kind of, and so you're just tarring me with the same brush. You know what I mean? If I had wrongfully been convicted of murder, the last person I'd want to have my back and tell everybody that I didn't do it is somebody else who'd also done a murder or been you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I understand it's a similar thing, but I need somebody a bit more wholesome.
Well, yeah, Stu doesn't want anybody to find out, or he just doesn't want to drag at the past, does he? So he's like, go away, Kelly, I don't want anything to do with you. But when everyone decides that they want to help him, he's like, oh, go on then, I'll be your friend.
Like, no, I need somebody like Annika Rice or Anthea Turner or something like that, not you. So, Kelly and Ardy think it would be fun to win a dream wedding competition because the trip is the prize is a trip abroad. And then they get a bit too embroiled in this. They start falling for each other, and then they decide to get married for real. Here's my question: who won that competition?
Yeah, he's signing it up in the Caribbean also, as we speak.
I'm sorry, but if I'm the woman who's doing this competition and like getting myself involved with Ardy and Kelly, I'd be absolutely thrilled to discover that later on one of them gets kidnapped and shot. Where's the headlines here? Don't you think it'd be like, "Your love's a young dream gone wrong"? Who'd have thought? There'd be nothing but headlines in the Weatherfield Reporter about this crap happening.
Yeah, that's very true.
And they've got all the pictures.
Yeah.
To put on the front page. Why is the reporter more interested in two teenagers getting married than they are somebody getting shot on a rooftop? Anyway, so Dev's not happy about this. Ardy goes to live with Gary and Maria because Dev's so mad, and then he and Kelly plan to go to Gretna Green, and then Gary and Maria find out about it. Gary's like, "This is great, I'm going to be supportive," and Kelly and Maria's like, "This is stupid."
It's more Gary's like, you can't try and tell them no because that will just push them further to do it, and maybe they'll...
You can't win them all.
Maybe they will, cut you out of their life, so we might as well say... Go on then.
Well, he's basically
do
like,
your worst.
I'm not her dad. In fact, I killed her dad, so I think she should be able to go. Sharon turns up after Kelly gets in touch because she's having this big engagement party. And then Kelly gets suspicious when she sees a photo because Sharon drops off a bunch of Laura's old things, and then Kelly eventually decides to go through them, and she finds a camera because apparently Laura was proper old school, and she had like a digital
back in 2019
camera.
she had a digital camera that stamped the date all over the picture.
Yeah, so she's looking through the pictures of this holiday, and it proves that Laura wasn't in the country when Rick was killed, so she couldn't have done it. And so Sharon then tells her that it was Gary that killed her dad. So, Kelly's out for revenge. She plots to get Gary killed. She contacts the kidnappers from earlier in the year because they get tracked down by the police, and then the police say, "Do you recognise any of these people?" And she's like, "No." But then she catches them outside the police station and says, "Hey guys, do you want a job? Do you want to kill somebody? Here's my plan." So they're like, "Yeah, brilliant, sounds great."
How much was it that she offered to give them?
£10,000.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was like paltry, wasn't it, for what you'd expect for killing someone? I wouldn't kill anyone for £10,000.
I wouldn't kill anyone for £10,000.
Was it 50? I can't remember. Whatever it was.
It was a lot of money. Well,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't enough.
It wasn't
really.
enough money for what they were being asked
I think the
to do.
handy thing was because one of these people was Kieran, the kidnapper.
Yeah.
So he was like, "I'll do it for free, but don't tell her that." So, she says, "Look, kill Gary. He's evil," and you've moved it, so I can't tell where we are.
That's it. So they kidnap Gary during the engagement party, don't they?
Yes, she lures him to the van, and he gets taken away, and then Kelly changes her mind, and they end up having a rooftop encounter where everybody has having an argument, and then Kieran tries to shoot Kelly.
Both.
He shoots Ardy by accident, and Kelly's like, "This is too much drama. I'm going, and I won't tell anybody what you were up to, Gary, because you tried to save me on the roof, but I can't stay here because Kelly Neelan's got things to do, places to go, money to spend." Takes a bag of cash and leaves to start a new life.
And that is it. That is Kelly Neelan.
She fit more into
in
that
an hour
than some people have done. In 20 years, I'm going to say.
I know. Just imagine that taking a character like, Kirk or Brian or something and say, we're just going to do a character profile of what they've been up to over the past 4 years. You'd be over and done with it about 15 minutes, wasn't it? But yeah, we managed to string this out for an hour so far. But yeah, busy girl. But that's what happens when you're a good actress, isn't it? They do tend to give you, if you're lucky, they give you some of these big stories. And so, yeah, sadly we had to say goodbye to Kelly. And the rumours were kind of swirling around in the summer, weren't they, that she was going to leave. And then, we found out for sure that it was going to happen when we went up to Manchester in the summer holidays and got invited to her leaving do, which was quite lovely.
Oh yeah, of course. I forgive Kelly everything she's ever done because I got to go to Millie Gibson's leaving party.
Yes, exactly. So I have got some quotes from Millie about her time on Coronation Street. She said, "I think Corrie is a home. It's the best way of describing it. It's a home. Because I'm so young, I thought, I've got to leave. I've got no responsibilities. I don't have kids. I don't have a mortgage to pay or anything like that. I'm still grateful to be living at home. So I thought, I'm just going to see what else the world has. If it does happen, it does. That'd be quite good, wouldn't it? I just thought I might as well see what happens while I'm still young." Fair
Where are
play
you
to her.
reading that from?
Literally there.
Well, you missed out a load of stuff.
No, I didn't. I said all of that.
I don't have
You
kids.
weren't listening. I said that.
Oh.
You were reading your text
I was reading a
messages
text
on your
message
phone.
from somebody.
Yeah. So, yeah, she just wanted to try the thing. It was just really good, I think, that they didn't kill her off. Although, I mean...
Shouldn't kill anybody off that we like.
No, but I mean, you got your other characters that also showed really, really great potential, like your Becky McDonald's and your Karen McDonald's and all that.
What do you mean?
And then they don't kill them off. They say, "Oh, well, I leave the door open for you."
They ain't coming back.
No, they don't. But you never know. It might happen.
Well, I mean, if anybody's going to go off and be
a young starlet,
who those actresses are,
Saran Jones
and the other girl,
Catherine
it's going to
Kelly.
be Millie Gibson.
You reckon?
She's bloody brilliant.
I do think that she'll get snapped up. So I hope that she takes
She's got
advantage
lots
of
of
all the
stuff to
opportunities
do.
that are left open to her. But she says she's going to miss them. She says, "I'll miss Kelly. I'll miss the cast. I'll miss the crew." I bang on about it, but it's a family. It's just like leaving a family. It's so sad. I try not to get upset, but it's sad. And she also said, because I think she was they were all interviewed towards the end of August when and Millie was asked whether she's going to take any souvenirs from the sets, and she says she's going to take Kelly's black puffer coat with fur on the hood. She says she wears it all the time in the winter. Every time it's the summer, I miss her coat because I feel like her whenever I wear it. I'm going to take that for sure. This is a bit of a spoiler, but I made sure in my last scene I was wearing the coat because I wanted to take it. That's one way of doing it, isn't it? I suppose. Just do your final scene, that's a wrap, and away you go. So that is the end of Kelly. And what's kind of we've kind of, she's been a character that we've really, really made fun of over the years, hasn't she? And we've kind of been very harsh towards her in a jokey sort of way for all the naughtiness that she's done. What's kind of your final overall conclusion about Kelly?
Kelly's one of these characters who's a bit like Tim, where I'm not totally sure what my real opinion is, because I've held an opinion just to be a bit contrary.
Yeah, a
quite
comedic
a lot of the
grudge.
time. So I think I've said it already in this little episode about, I think she's a fascinating character. I think Millie's so talented. I would love to be able to be completely non-biased and examine how I feel about her. I still think that she's trouble.
She clearly is trouble. The amount that she did, and yes,
you can't blame her for it though, because it's completely not her fault that she was.
She had a bad upbringing, but then lots of people with bad upbringings don't necessarily go down this route. So yes, it contributed to her behaviour, I'm sure, but she didn't have to.
I know, but
turn into a bit of a nasty scally.
But teenagers don't. And I know that you don't realise this when you're a teenager, but you don't. Your brain's not developed, and you don't necessarily have the best grasp on what the consequences of things might be. And so I just sometimes I think I can be very sympathetic about people who make mistakes, but then I think I would never have done anything like this. I would never have sent everybody somebody's nude video. Could she not possibly imagine a downside to doing this?
She was just a real proper nasty mean girl during that story, wasn't she? And basically spent the next 2-3 years on the programme trying to peddle her way out of it and say, no, I've turned into a good person. But I just wonder, it makes me wonder, if she had stayed on the programme, would she have got boring? Or, would she have just been a nice girl and that was it? Or would she have always had that edge that would have, led her into trouble's way? I don't know, because the relationship between her and Ardy was lovely, and they did a really, really good job of making it seem very sweet and genuine, even though it was clearly ridiculous that these two had fallen head over heels in love with each other over the course of about a month. It was ludicrous, really.
I just think,
but yeah. So would it have just got a bit dull?
Apart from poor Seb, the biggest victim of Kelly is Dev, and it kind of annoys me, and it's another example of teens not really understanding the full ramifications of what it is they're doing. That both Ardy and Asher are so eager to let bygones be bygones, forgive Kelly, she didn't realise, it's not her fault. And Dev is going, I'm still paying the bill. I'm literally paying out my nose for this girl who did this to my daughter, and you're all crazy if you think it's all very well. Maybe would Asher feel differently about it if her dad wasn't paying to have this scrub from the internet? Would Ardy feel differently about it if he was the one footing the bill for however much money Dev has to pay a month to stop it from being on the internet? If Kelly really was that much of a saint, why didn't she leave Dev a big bag of cash with a sorry for all the trouble?
That's a very good point. She did run away with £380,000 in a bag, didn't she? Can I just also point out
that she spent quite a lot of time walking around with a bag of money, giving it out to all the people that Rick screwed over, but she personally screwed over the Allahans and never once offered them a penny.
That's a very good point. Maybe that's what's going to bring her back to Coronation Street. She's like, I knew I forgot something before I leave. Here is $100,000 or something. I've got no idea how much Deb's supposed to be paying for this, but you're right. She that maybe would have been the kind thing to do. But yeah, I was really. It feels like it almost was a good time to leave. It feels like the arc is over, but maybe that's just because it's been plotted particularly well, and she gave the showrunners plenty of time to bring her story to a conclusion, and we can only imagine, what Kelly's getting up to now. Maybe one day we'll find out. I just think it's really funny sometimes how you get these characters that come out of, really, really minor other characters. Greatness can spring completely unsuspectingly. Rick Neelan was such a low-key Coronation Street villain, wasn't he? He'd made a couple of appearances on the show, but I never felt that he was up there alongside your Richard Hillman, Pat Phelan kind of people. He was just a bit of a dodgy loan shark, and that was it. Yet out of that has sprung this amazing talent, this really memorable character. I really like it when that happens, because it's like striking gold, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It happens very often on Coronation Street, though. I have to say they do a really good job of kind of finding these talented people and giving them some great roles.
Yeah. Just makes you wonder how many other times characters could turn into something huge like this if they're brought in for 6 episodes or whatever, and then it's like, well, that's your lot, you're done on Coronation Street now. How many of them could turn into these award-winning magazine cover starring people like she did? But I guess that's a question for the parallel universe theorists among us.
Yeah, the Mandela people can tell us
yeah.
from their Mandela universe where he died a long time ago instead of just a bit ago.
I do wish that before Kelly had gone, she'd been able to have some final scenes with Abby, because they kind of did make their peace, didn't they?
They did it with Nina instead of Abby.
Yeah, they did. They had that scene where Nina kind of, it was like, I forgive you for everything. But Abby was, this time last year or near enough, was really the mega thorn in Kelly's side, wasn't she?
I imagine it was because lovely Carly Salmon wasn't available, and so they decided to.
I guess so.
Make that with Nina. It was just a way of concluding the story, wasn't it? It's like no hard feelings, but really it would have been more meaningful to have come from Abby, because although Nina was just more scared of her than anything, I don't really remember her ever holding a hateful grudge towards Kelly in the same way that Abby did.
Not to the extent that Abby did, where she was basically stalking her down the street and, haranguing her and throwing insults at her and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a shame we didn't get to see something final for that. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes they just can't get the actors together.
Can't get it together,
Who'd have thought
guys.
that at the beginning of this year we'd be getting to this stage in 2022, we'd have no more Kelly, no more Laura, no more Imran. Like, these 3 characters.
I'm mad about it.
I know. Sort of maybe Laura to a lesser extent, but really key players in Coronation Street, some of its biggest stories, and now they're all gone. And there's only chance for one of them to come back.
They're all great characters and all great actors and so talented, and I'm just bummed.
Do you think that we're going to, if she doesn't come back, where do you think that Kelly will end up in the Corrie history books? Will she just be a little blip, or will she be one that gets remembered?
I think she's not been in it long enough to have made
Too
sort
much.
of
A lasting impression.
massive impact. But I will say that given what she had, she's completely done a lot with it.
Yeah, she has. But you're right. She's really only had 2 big years on the show, and
that even Becky McDonald has kind of fallen out of memory, and she was she was massive and very talented and involved in everything.
She gets a mention every now and then, doesn't she? But I don't even see
how much do people think about that character now? Corrie fans, how much do they really?
Yeah, they were really good, unless you're thinking about the real proper old classics from the first 20-30 years of Coronation Street. There's very few characters that people still really remember.
But those characters are more kind of legendary / iconic, and I'm going to say that they're kind of remembered by people via reputation more than a lot of people never even saw them in an episode, but they know who they were. It's very interesting. I really would love to see Kelly come back. I think there's still plenty that could be done with the character. I don't know though. Do you not think her story's kind of over in a way?
Yeah, no, it is. That's like I was saying earlier. Like, if she'd have stayed around the street, would she have grown stale?
I think
I'm not going to say no.
Dwindled a bit, honestly, and kind of floundered. Because what is there to say about this character? She was kind of like, it was a very neat character arc, and that's probably the strongest element of her beyond the acting talent of Millie Gibson, is that it really did feel like if you took Kelly's story, it could be like a gritty drama series or something, couldn't it? It's kind of coherent and cohesive story that had a beginning, a middle, and an end, really.
Yeah, and she could have settled with Ardy, and so few young couples in Coronation Street get together and stay the course. And every time one does kind of, two do shack up together, I thought, maybe they're actually going to keep them together, and they'll still be together in 10, 20 years time, and they'll be the next big family of the street, and they'll have these kids and everything. But it just never seems to happen, does it? So there's no real reason to think that her and Ardy would have stayed together. Yes, they were very sweet together, but it was, very shaky foundations that they actually got engaged. So I don't know. I think maybe you're right. Maybe it is for the best that things ended the way they were, with the door still open for a bit of hope. And I guess in the meantime, we'll just have to watch this space and see what Millie Gibson's up to. Because I'm sure it won't be too long before she graces our screens, in one way or another again.
Brilliant.
Well done.
Well done, everybody involved in that, because there were lots of different people, and and Millie is just very, very talented, and I'm very excited.
She is, and for a character that is so clearly nasty and violent and just really cruel, she's been at a time, for somebody like that to win so many people over, to win us over. You got to be good to win us over, haven't you?
Yeah.
If you're a wrong one. She's just done an amazing job, and she is like the nicest person.
Yeah, but as an actress, she's charismatic and she draws your eyes to her.
Yeah, and it's just crazy to think how young she is, because she only just hit her 18th birthday this year, didn't she? Like, when we met her back in March, she was only 17, but she was so kind of confident and like I said, she is just absolutely lovely. And everybody who ever I've heard talk about her say how
wonderful and lovely she is.
Yeah, and it's from what I've seen anyway, it's true.
And also shout out to her mum Paula.
Yes, shout out to Paula.
Yeah, lovely lady.
How you doing, lady?
Yeah. Don't know whether she'll listen to this, but if she does, I hope she does, because I think that she is a well beloved actress on Coronation Street, and I'm sure we would all be very thrilled as fans to have the return of Kelly Neelan at whatever point it might be suitable to have her come back. She's got links with so many characters that I think, as long as at least one person's left, then she can still come back. Yeah. So thank you very much, Kelly. Thank you very much
for listening, everybody. There you go. We got a whole hour and a bit out of that tonight.
Yeah, she's only been 215 episodes.
I know. Well, I hope that was a nice little stroll down memory lane, and you didn't get beaten up and kicked to death on the way there.
I know, but I bet if you're listening to this, I bet you're thinking, oh my god, I forgot. Oh my god, yeah. Because, there are some big beats of her story that are obviously very, very memorable, but she's done so much. Yeah. Bless her. Yeah, anyway, now we're going to go.
You email us and tell us what your final thoughts are about Kelly if you want to. Yeah. What would you say your favourite Kelly moment is?
When it turned out that they stored her trainers incorrectly.
No, that is untrue. I think like the one that's going to sort of stick with me the longest is that flashback scene that Nina had, where we get to see what actually happened during the kicking.
I think her with Laura, when Laura died.
Oh yeah, crawling all over Laura's body. That was
harrowing.
That really, really was. Yeah, she has some good ones.
She's so brilliant.
Anyway, that's
okay.
Enough
That'll do.